Ja, Díreach arán bhí an Craobh agus sin olh chun tús a chur le Cluiche Leathcheannais Craobh hínsed Caide Kerry here gan dát sin orthe títarnig unchuoinech an san haut geantrás gan dát cuinomid na orthe eile hagan dungamórta sa alvargi bhórán Strandhouses san sa Daingean, Lee Strand, Dingle Cleaners agus Kerry Concrete a sin na súl gomór leis an chléise a barcan ástig na cnéalcha gomachan Caide cé bhfuil gwe séide ón taobh cléig se bfiechan dros Scáil san is tío Jeb an lábh diise ach tuairmid fiechan tapig na fórn inis agus sé an scéal mór hátí blar farcan ástig an nachfuil polo génig tas na Daingean. So báidir óh siúta dáhí ó chun na chóir. An lína landchúil Míhall flanúra Tomás Leo Sullivan Pádraig ó chun na chóir. Na logénig Tomás Sullivan brandán na céilechar a bheith sa lína lechúil. Captain na fórna Darragh Sullivan ag Seirse Durant a lár park Sean ó go marrán an tógánach. Tas nó sa lína lechasach an brianó chun na chóir polo de bháin. Agus sé Tomás McAteague, Barrow Sullivan is stig mar lánta sach beidir gimi de siú de malar tú le Seirse Durant agus Dylan O'Génig. For an Annascaul agus nílé na hrúonarin an miochan tachte Tammy Pierce a bheith sa bháide. John Hoare, Andrew Finn, agus Diarmid O'Hara, Selina Lawnchool, Jane Scanlon, Colm Omer Hurtig, Shane Foley, Selina Lachul, Eamon, agus Jason Hickson, and son, Gimmert, Allard Parker, Fintan Hurley, Killian Falvey, David Smith, agus Nina Lantasach, Jack Farrell, James Crean, agus Cathal Fortair, Len Tevin Farrell, Tahi Vahiga, Erchlahiransa, Diarmid O'Morchu, Diarmid. Bit surreal, I suppose, being here with no crowd on a Saturday of a West Kerry semi-final, but it is what it is. But it should be a great encounter between these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to a great match here between the two teams. Conditions are good, even though there is quite a strong breeze blowing up the field. But Annascaul in good shape after a good win over the weekend. Dingle with a point to prove maybe after a poor county championship display against Simple No. So hopefully it has the makings of a great match.
Yeah, first effort there by George Durant that went wide, and Tommy Pierce will get the kick out here. Of course, Annascaul playing against the wind here. And they'll be looking forward to this game. And I know it's a junior team against a senior team, but I don't think anyone will be surprised if Annascaul won this. Here they go up the field, Jason Hickson. He likes to carry the ball forward for Annascaul. And of course, when these two teams met 2 years ago in the West Kerry final, there was only the smallest margin between them, a point in it that day. Jason Hickson kicked a load of points from James Crean now. He played well against Lisboa last week. Back out to Jason here. Jason going forward, and if he spots a gap, he'll try and go through. Annascaul recycling possession here. Diarmid O'Hara coming up from the full back line. Shane Foley, he saw a lot of the ball against Lisboa last week. Sorry, James Scanlon. This is James Foley now. Shane Foley once again working that up the sideline. Patient play here from Annascaul. Of course, they are playing against the wind. James Crean, and they have scoring threats all over the field. There's no doubt about that. David Smith now driving forward. It's passed back to Cathal Fortair, wearing number 23, even though his name to be down in the programme to be wearing number 15. And that's the first attempt by Annascaul, and that's kicked in there by Jason Hickson. But that went wide. Good play by Annascaul, recycling the possession against the wind.
Very much so, and they'll have to be patient into the wind as well because it is quite a strong breeze, but they worked the scoring opportunity well. Jason took the shot, just didn't come after him, but decent play by Annascaul to start off.
And I suppose, Diarmid, when you're looking at this competition from the outside looking in, it's hard to get people excited about it. You're on about 3 junior teams, an intermediate team and a senior team. But when you get the supporters involved, when you get everyone involved, it's a massive, massive competition.
It's a huge competition, and any young footballer in West Kerry, it's where we are now. Corn, I suppose, first day really is in West Kerry Championships in all the clubs, and it's brilliant to be, to see a West Kerry Championship this year. We didn't think we'd see anything at all.
And that's the Modida Khashtachasunga Baradano Sullivan. Well done there by Barry Dan, playing full forward role that he wouldn't be familiar with. But that's the first score, and that's gone after 2.5 minutes. Well played there by Barry, but that's what we'll see a lot of from Dingle, like the long ball in today.
Especially with the breeze in the first half, because it is quite a strong wind. It's pointless having Barry inside there unless they're going to put it into him. But that was very controlled, build up, good ball in, and a great finish by Barry.
Annascaul get on with it quickly. Jason Hickson, he's seen a lot of the ball in the first 3 minutes here. Plays that back there to David Smith. David Smith there into Jack Farrell, back to James Crean, into Killian Falvey. Play inside with the Kerry under 20s this year. And this is it. Annascaul, I suppose, are the coming team in West Kerry at the minute. When you look at the players, they have Colm Omer Hurtig, Killian Falvey, Cathal Fortair, and I suppose Garrod Line as well, who's injured.
A lot of players that have worn the Kerry jersey in the last couple of years, they are at different levels, so they'll be looking to use those young fellas and to build. They still have a lot of their good older players as well. They're the 2 Hicksons in particular, so they have the makings of a nice team and they're coming strong.
Cathal Fortair crowded out there, but sensible play back to Killian Falvey. Good defence there by Dingle, putting the pressure on Killian, not giving him any space. Once again, they recycle the ball. Cahill for Thiar now, playing that across to Jason Hexon. He put an effort wide earlier into James Crean, and Ben Brosnan, the referee, blows that up and says Paul Devan came in with a high tackle, so this should be a scoreable free for Annascaul.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a big part of the game plan, especially into the breeze for Annascaul, to see if they can get those frees in the scoring area, because it's going to be very hard to get scores from play into the wind, but they worked that one well now, and it's a good chance for Jason here to get a point.
Yeah, Jason Hexon, in check point to all the Dermo. Scrooge she's a hide about the second out the gun in the guy hit. And she's arching a bullet. He's did a plan and sudden to my head and over Daingean out and going to some fact to get Baradano Sullivan says shooting him to stick Marlon to Sachat Sunday Novak. And Schmachki Gito, I Gamala 2 bed and a social drunk and it's the rich, the lint and play. Jason now kicks that, but he snaps that, and that's gone wide. A bad miss there by Jason Hexon.
Bad miss for Jason, because he could have done with the score to settle them down a little bit, but he just didn't make contact with the ball properly at all, and I'd say the breeze might have influenced it a bit as well, but not a great start for Jason there in the freeze.
David O'Connor, massive kick out there, but Eamon Hexon underneath that, calls the mark, gets on with play. It's a great ball to his brother Jason now, and this guy, he's fast, there's no doubt about it, driving forward, creating space for himself, put one wide earlier, and he's going for a goal. What an absolutely outrageous goal there by Jason Hexon. That was very simple from Annascaul. Dingle will be disappointed with the defending there.
Disappointed. Two of the Dingle players were caught wrong side of their man when they came through, but in fairness to Jason, what a great goal. One of the great West Kerry Championship goals there from Jason to come all the way through and put it into the top corner. He was a good 20 yards out. A fantastic goal from Jason and a great start from Annascaul. Absolutely
brilliant start from Annascaul here, especially when you think of the win that they're playing against Brondon Kelleher now. We'll see a lot of that there. That's called inside there. The mark called by Daingean. Mark got. It's interesting to see there. We see Colm Hertig has gone back to Mark Barry Dan, and Colm in the last year has filled out. Big strong man now. That'll be one of the interesting battles to keep an eye on. Daingean from the mark that he called straight in front of the post, and that's a great score there by Dylan. That's the answer, Dermot, that Dingle wanted and got.
Good response, yeah. Got their hands in the kick out, which was important after conceding the goal, and good catch inside in front of the goal by Dylan, who has been one of the most improved players for Dingle this year. So they'll need more of that, Dingle, to keep the lead that they'll need going into the second half.
Long kick out there. Jason Hexon drops that down there to Shane Foley. Shane Foley waked it now to Eamon Hexon. Annascaul playing well around the middle. James Crean now looking up. Tom Sullivan marking him. Killian Falvey now. And once again, Annascaul happy to recycle possession while they're playing against this win. Cahill for Thiar now. That's the lovely kick pass there out to Diarmuid O'Hara, and Diarmuid O'Hara kicks that in. Foul committed there, says the referee. Another chance for Jason Hexon here. This is slightly harder, but he should score this.
Yeah, a good chance again for Jason. Annascaul very patient again in possession. They're working the ball well. They've men overlapping, coming off the shoulder, and they're driving at the Dingle backs, and they're getting joy out of that so far. Another free here, which Jason, you'd expect him to kick at.
He's put one wide. He scored a wonder goal. Going to get the hat trick now and kick this over the bar. You can see there the flag blowing over. Wind there, gathering strength as the half goes on. 7.5 minutes I make out gone here in the first half. Points separating the teams. Jason kicks that low, and again he snaps at that, and that's a terrible attempt there by Jason. He'd be disappointed.
Poor strike again from Jason. I'd say maybe from now on he might try them off the hands, because it's just not working for him off the ground at the moment.
Long kick out, trying to find George Durant, but Pip Devan awake to that, and he sends that up there to Brondon Kelleher. Kicked by Brondon, throwing that in there to Tomas Sheehy, another big man inside there beside Barry Dan. Tomas creating space for himself and with the kick out, but he snatched at that one, and that one's gone harmlessly wide. Score stays as it was. Tommy Pearce now with the kick out. He'll be in no hurry against this wind. Dingle score so far, one from Daingean from a mark, one from Barry Dan, who's playing in full forward. That's hopping there, and Pip Devan awake to that, cleans that up for Dingle, gathers it in and kicks it up to Barry Dan, and there Colm Hertig coming out there. The referee says he fouled Barry. It's not often the big men get them simple frees, but it was definitely a foul there by Cullen. But that battle will be very intriguing between the two.
I think Cullen was a bit over enthusiastic there. The ball was hopping in front of Barry. He was probably going to win it anyway, and the only way he could stop him was by the foul. But good win from Paul Devan in the middle of the field after breaking ball, and should be a score again for Dylan.
That is a score kicked over the bar that time by Dylan. That's 2 points for Dylan, 3 points for Dingle. So the teams are level here, and we are approaching the 10-minute mark, about 9 minutes gone here so far in Parkinose. Of course, the winners of this game will be playing against Ingalsith in that game. More than likely now will be on. It'll be a fortnight from tomorrow, because we're led to believe that Ingalsith will be playing against Scáil next Saturday in Austin Stack Park, but there's no time or throw-in fixed for that so far. But here we go, Dingle on the attack, Sean Ogo-Moran. Usually see him in the full back line for Scáil. Kerry were playing in the half forward line into Daingean, but that gone over, and he kind of snatched at that, but it went over at the end. He'd be happy with his start, and that's his third score.
I think you get an indication of how strong the breeze is there. When we saw that kick coming in, it looked like it was going to drop a good bit short of the goalie, but the breeze managed to carry it over, and good score for Dylan. He'd be happy with that one.
And it's interesting to see, I suppose, Dermot, Sean Ogo-Moran. I've been used to seeing him in the full back line for Scáil in the last few years. Hard, good back. Interesting to see that he's in the half forward line for Dingle today.
It is, yeah. I think we're missing a few with the likes of Mikey Gainey out injured there. Dingle are missing one or two, so it's a good chance for Sean. I suppose when you're a young fella trying to get on the team, you have to take the chances that comes. You can't be looking to be in your right position all the time, but he's doing okay so far. He's working hard there, so he's a good footballer. He'll be fine.
So committed by Dingle, free kick to Annascaul, and that's taken there by their full-back Andrew Finn. It goes back to Colm Omar Hertig, who has actually gone in to full-back to keep an eye on Barry Dan. Colm loves to roam forward. Interesting how far back he'll stay, but here comes Fenton Hurley. 1-1 he scored the last day against Lisbol. Driving forward, James Crean now, usually playing in full forward, but with that breeze and playing against it. He's coming out the field, out to Jason Hexon now. Jason Hexon, once again on the Scáil, happy to play down the clock here. 11 minutes gone in Parkinose. Their goal, of course, coming from Jason Hexon. Now he'll be disappointed that he's put 2 frees wide. There we go, that's good defending there by Dingle. And Pip, he's seen a lot of the ball early in this game, winning the breaks around midfield and coming back there to help his defender. Padraig O'Connor now. And that time to Niall Gainey. Niall Gainey leaves that in, but that goes harmlessly over the line. But we can see what Dingle are doing, trying to get the fast ball into Barry.
I think really with Barry inside for forward, they have to do it, and playing with the breeze. It'd be surprising the second half if Barry was still inside there, but they're getting good early ball there with that one. He didn't judge the hop great underneath that one, but Dingle winning a little bit more ball out around the middle now, more lately.
Jason Hexon there knocks that down to James Crean, gets a return pass. We've seen Jason drive forward and get a goal earlier. Still going forward, and here comes Cahill for Thiar now. We all know how good Cahill is. Onto his left, and he kicks that over the bar, but that comes again from the direct running of Jason Hexon. Yeah,
he's causing Dingle huge problems there, driving down through the middle of the field. No Dingle player could keep up with him, and he slipped the ball off the Cahill with a great finish into the breeze.
Yeah, Jason will be happy with the start so far. Short kick out there, taken to Niall Gainey, this time. Niall out to Padraig O'Connor, driving forward to Tomas Leo, To Mihalo Flanora-ish. Here we have Niall Gainey driving forward, and no pressure put on Niall there. Easy ball in. Side to Dylan, who scored 3 points so far for Dingle. Dylan creating space, and that is an absolutely outstanding point by Dylan Gainey. Point number 4 from Dylan, and they really need to keep a tighter leash on Dylan Gainey, Dermot.
Yeah, superb score from Dylan. A great ball in by his brother there to open it up inside in the corner for him. Took on his man, came around. The thing about Dylan, why he's so hard to mark, he's left and right leg, which makes him very difficult to mark as a back, and he took that score lovely.
He did indeed, and here we see Annascaul possession of the ball back with the goalkeeper Tommy Pearce. Tommy driving forward now, and he releases Andrew Finn, but look, Pip Devan once more there, and this is a chance for Dingle. They're thinking a goal here. That's kicked from a long way out, and that's kicked in to the back of the net, and is that by Dylan Gainey? I think it might have been.
Yeah, it was Annascaul got turned over coming out there. Tommy might have left the ball off a little bit earlier, but it came to the wrong man from Annascaul's point of view, because Dylan's on fire today, and he saw him off his line, chipped it in and got a great goal.
Wants to be a goalkeeper at the best of times, I guess, coming out with the ball that time dispossessed and an empty net, and Daingean, and that leaves it. He's 1-4 scored so far. Free awarded to Annascaul. David Smith back now to Eamon Hexon, and after all their good work with that goal, Annascaul will be absolutely gutted to leave in such an easy goal. Colm O'Murtig now driving forward. Tomas Sheehy putting pressure on him. Good play there by Tomas. Fintan Hurley out to Shane Foley now, wearing number 7 on his back. This is hard work by Annascaul. Dingle defending well here, but Annascaul being patient. Runners off the shoulder every time they're giving a pass. James Crean here, Tom Leo following him, and the referee said there's a foul there and done well there, releasing Shane Walsh. Shane Foley. Shane Foley now out to call for Thiar. Call with the only point for Annascaul, scored a few minutes ago from play. Kicks that back now to James Scanlon. Playing keep ball Annascaul. We've seen this very often. Call for Thiar now. Back once again to David Smith. Shane Foley. Hand pass out there now to David Smith. David Smith switches the direction of play there. Jason Hexon. No gaps there now. Dingle back in formation. And happy to keep Annascaul out. 1-5 to 1-1 the score. James Crean. That ball in and won well there. Inside by Annascaul, and a chance of a score there by Killian Falvey. He kicks that well. He had the direction but not the length. And into the hands there of David O'Connor, and Dingle come out with the ball. Paul Devan having a great first half for Dingle. Out to Brondon Kelleher now. Two oldest members of the Dingle team dictating the play. And it's kicked in there by George Durant. Great ball in there, but Barry said that he picked that one up off the ball. But Dingle will be happy there. They weren't patient. They were patient in that they left Annascaul have the ball. They weren't rushing out to defence and won it back, but could have scored maybe if Barry had held on to that properly.
Yeah, Dingle forwards are starting to work very hard here, and they're trying to slow Annascaul coming up the field as best they can. And it's worked to a degree so far, but Barry will be disappointed there for picking that one off the ground, because it was a good chance to get a score.
Niall Gainey coming out with that to Tomas Leo. George Durant didn't start a lot of the Clubber County Championship games for Dingle. That's kicked in, of course. Dingle going for the 3 in a row here in West Kerry, and they love to add it this year, especially with the disappointment of the County Championship defeat to Temple No a few weeks ago. It's kicked in there by James Crean, trying to find Killian Falvey, a busy player, but he's not able to hold on to that ball. George Durant now. Leaving the ball out there. It's kicked in there to Dylan Gainey. 1-4 so far from Dylan for Dingle. 1-3 coming from play. Another attempt from a mark, and that's thrown in there towards Barry Dan. Dingle might have argued that he was pushed in the back, but Jason Hexon won't mind, and he'll take the ball out for Annascaul, and he's there trying to release Killian Falvey. A ball into space there, but once again we see Paul Devan and putting in the hard yards. Paul helping his defenders. Over the sideline for a sideline kick for Dingle.
Two Dingle wing forwards are dropping back, and they're filling in the space maybe in the Annascaul half forward line, that they're looking to kick those passes into this part of their game plan to get their half forwards going across the line, but Dingle are stopping that so far at the first water break.
You see that, the first water break in half. Nobody's seen it in these club and county championships where the water break actually helps the team who are behind. But we have all the scores so far. It's Dingle who are ahead, and they'll be really happy with Dylan Gainey's display so far in the game. He has kicked 1-4 for Dingle, 1 point coming from a mark, the other 3 from play, and then the long distance goal when Tommy Pearce was dispossessed and off his line. The scores coming from Annascaul. Jason Hexon with an absolute wonder goal, their first score in the game. Cahill for Thiar with another point from play, but Jason Hexon will be a little bit disappointed with the 2 frees that he has. But Annascaul maybe not too disappointed when you think the strength of the wind out there.
Yes, they've played very well so far on Scáil. Maybe on the balance of play, they could have had a couple of more scores up on the board. And if you look at the couple of frees that they missed, I think that they, it's a pity for them that they didn't get those, because they'd be much closer now, and the goal that they conceded as well. But the wind is having a big factor here in the match, and I'd say Scáil will be reasonably happy so far. If they could keep it to 4 or 5 points by half time, they'd be in a right good shout then in the second half.
Yeah, and on the Scáil, they won't be afraid of Dingle. They won't mind that there's a senior team that they're up against, and of course they're still involved in the Kerry Junior Championship. I think it's Dual that they'll be playing next week in that, and they'll be looking to go one better than they did last year when they lost to Ballyduff in that final. It's a young team, there's no doubt about it. The young players there like Killian Falvey, the likes of Colford, Thiar, James Crean can score points. We've all seen what damage Jason Hickson can do when he gets the ball from distance and is given space and gaps to drive through. Take the start now, or second half of the first half, I suppose, after this water break. The scores are Dingle 1-5, Annascaul 1-1. As I said, it's Dylan Gainey who's done all the scoring so far for Dingle in the first half. He has scored 1-4 out of that 1-5, 1 point from a mark, 1-3 from play. Barry Dan, who's playing in an unfamiliar role for him, I suppose, up full forward for Dingle, scoring the other one. And the scores coming from play from Annascaul, a goal from Jason Hickson. If you missed that, look back on this YouTube stream later on, well worth watching, and the point from Colford there. And again, credit to Paul Quinn there and the bar inventory for providing this free stream. It is strange being at these games when you don't see the crowd, especially a West Kerry semi-final. If you had this on the Saturday in September, the town would be gone mad. But it is what it is, I suppose. And Dingle now drive forward. George Durant trying to play Tomas Sheehy in there. Great ball in there, and the mark called by Tomas Sheehy. New rule that has come in, the ball has to be kicked 30 yards, of course, and caught cleanly. They have to raise their hand. It's one thing that annoys me about the rule. I don't understand why they have to raise the hand. It's hard enough to catch a ball at the best of times. But Tomas now takes that, kicks that, and that's over the bar. It's a good start by Dingle there after the water break. Well played there, and a great ball in by George Durant.
George is having a key role for Dingle in possession today, in that he's kicking a lot of ball into the full forward line, and with the wind as well, they're getting the ball in there easily enough, and his accurate kicks and a great catch by Tomas and a very good score.
20 minutes gone here now, 10 minutes to go till half time. Annascaul will need a few scores, even though they will have that wind in the second half. It's kicked out there, and Joe driving forward. And Brosnan awarding the free there. Jason Hickson comes across to take that. There to the fullback, Andrew Finn. Andrew, who's playing in the half-back line for Annascaul, swapped there with Colm O'Mahertig at the start of the first half. It's kicked out there now as far as Fenton Hurley. But dispossessed there, and a chance for Dingle now to go on the counter-attack. Quick ball played in there to Barry Dan. Colm O'Mahertig marking him. Barry turns one way, he turns the other, kicks that, but he picks that wide. Did the hard work, maybe created the space for himself, but that effort gone wide by Barry.
Good chance for Barry there to get his second score of the game. A good turnover out the middle of the field for Dingle, but not a great shot by Barry, unfortunately, put it wide. But he's showing well inside there, and the Dingle lads are hitting him with every ball, every chance they get.
Yeah, it's definitely a tactic we haven't seen from Dingle in the last few years, but a tactic that is working. Tommy Pearce, nervous that he'll be dispossessed this time and cut off his line, but he is, and here we go, and here come Dingle on the attack. Tommy Pearce is scampering back, but he gets on his back on his line. That's kicked in there, and they are taking an effort there. And I think that's Dylan Gainey who scored, or sorry, it's Barry Dan who scored that. Barry with a second point of the day, but that came again. Tommy Pearce coming out, straight pass, score for Dingle, a bit too easy.
Yeah, you could say in Tommy's defence, maybe someone of the backs will be coming and taking the ball off from there. There's not a lot of people looking for it, so but Dingle did well to turn over the ball and into Barry, and he learned his lessons from the last shot and kicked a great point there.
Yeah. Well played there by Barry. Timber O'Hara, but that's a kick and hope one there by Dermot. No chance of the forward. Now comes Tom Leo now to Sean O'Gomoran. Sean O'Gomoran looking up. Played in there to Tom Sheehy, lovely floated pass into Tomas. Tomas now pasting that into Barry, but well played there by Annascaul and by Colm O'Mahertig. I think came up with the ball that time, passing it there to Eamon Hexon. Sorry, it was Andrew Finn who got the ball that time. Well played by him. It's a nice ball in by Tomas, dangerous one. If Barry had knocked a hand to that or got it, definitely you'd be thinking goal or score for Dingle. But out now comes Shane Foley, Sean O'Gomoran marking him. Shane putting on the afterburners and driving forward. They pace all over the field. Call for Thiar now driving forward, and will he go on the mazy dribble? He's thinking a goal here, but He snaps in that and puts in the hard work, and that's a poor attempt there by Caide, a player of his calibre. You'd expect him to be scoring.
Great move from Annascaul, great work from Shane Foley there, and he put Caide in the clear, and there was half a chance of a goal if he gave it inside earlier on, but they'll be disappointed not to even come away at the point. Probably really should have finished the score for the score that time.
And scores that Annascaul will lead before half time. I make it out that there's about 7.5 minutes to go in the first half here. It's Dingle who are ahead 1-7 on the scoreboard by them. All their scores coming from the full forward line. 2 points by Barry O'Sullivan. And the rest 1-5 scored by Dylan Gady. We have Annascaul David Select now playing that back to Jason Hexon. Sees that there's no one at all near to Killian Falvey. Killian will bring this ball forward. Tomás Sheehy tracking back to keep an eye on him. Kicked in there to Cahill for Thiar. Point so far in the game by Cahill, a bad wide a few minutes ago. He's fouled there, says the referee. Free for Annascaul. It'll be a tough one for Jason Hickson to score this one. He's had 2 bad misses earlier in the game, snapped at them, they were closer in, but he'll float this in maybe around the box, or will he go backwards with it? He takes a short one. That's floated in there, trying to find Jack Farrell with that, but the Dingle defenders were awake to that, and they come out with the ball now. Played there to Brian O'Connor. Brian across to Dara Dan. Rondon Kells now driving forward. Back to George Durant. Eamon Hexon pulling the jersey there. Not been giving the referee much of an option, but toward the free. Has played in the quick ball by Dingle, doing damage here. Barry Dan, soccer style, trying to keep that in, but that ball went over the sideline, says the umpire on the far side. And it'll be sideline kick for Annascaul. That's gone back now to Shane Foley. Shane has seen an awful lot of the ball here for Annascaul in the first half. Eamon Hexon driving forward. Eamon, just like his brother did. The pressure being put on Eamon, then he's dispossessed there. Play by Dingle and Tomás Sheehy. He has space here now. What will Tomás do? Will he turn on to his left? He will. Creates that little yard of space. Nicely done there by Tomás. A little bit too easy, but that came from there. The pressure that was put on him, and Hexon Dermot around the middle. 4 Dingle players swarmed him and won the ball back.
Good work by the Dingle forwards there. They put Eamon under fierce pressure coming up with the ball and managed to turn it over. And it's been noticeable that a good few of the Dingle scores have come up from turnovers off the Annascaul backs coming out. Ball into Tomás, and he'd be good in the left leg. He wasn't going to miss that.
Yeah, about 4 minutes to go here in the first half. Dingle now 7 points ahead, 1-8 by them, 1-1 by Annascaul. James Crean, he's playing wearing number 14, playing in the half forward line for Annascaul. Across now to Andrew Finn. Andrew trying to keep a close eye on Dylan Gainey. As you've seen here in the first half, it's not easy. Colm Omar Hertig. To James Crean. James Crean now across to David Smith. And Annascaul will want a point or two before half time. Not an impossible gap to reel in, but at the same time, 7 points is quite an amount in 30 minutes of football. David Smith now playing the free that was awarded to Annascaul. Back out to Fenton Hurley. Here's Eamon Hexon. Dingle happy to leave Annascaul have the ball, especially when they're playing against this wind and that distance out. They won't be able to punish them. No one at all around James Scanlon. Annascaul come to this side. That's what they need. Runners off. Andrew Finn providing the run that time, but stopped. Fenton Hurley now across to Eamon Hexon. Make out there's about 3 minutes left here in the first half. Annascaul patient in this build-up. Shane Foley helping out his forwards, but look at that. Oh, Dingle, I thought had won it back, but coming up to help his forwards is Diarmuid O'Hara. And Annascaul now, but that's another bad wide. That saps the energy out of a team when you've had the ball that long, and next thing you take at it. And I know it's hard to score against that wind, but Dingle won't be too disappointed.
Like, some of the approach play from Annascaul has been excellent. It's just that they haven't had the finish really, and they've missed a couple of chances. Like, really and truly, they could have another 4 or 5 points up on the board. And I think Dingle could have no complaints. Whether that'll come back to haunt them the second half, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, 5 wides in the first half by Annascaul. They won't be happy with that. There by Daingean. George Duran coming in to help him. Jason Hickson looking at him and he's pulling at the jersey, but advantage being played by the referee. Sensible play there by Ben Brosnan. Into Dingle, and Dingle is Dermot said earlier, he has the right, he has the left, and that is an absolutely sublime score by Dingle. He's on fire today, playing absolutely brilliantly for Dingle, Dermot.
Dingle is on fire inside there. When the ball goes direct into the Dingle full forward line, they're doing a lot of damage. And in fairness, I don't know if anybody could mark Dylan when he's kicking points off his left and off his right like that. It's next to impossible job to mark him for a back.
Yeah, and any young fella or any young person watching that there, that's the value of being two-footed. Very, very hard to mark. And look at that, Daingean underneath that. Dingle looking to add on a few scores here before half-time. Tomas Sheehy being put under pressure and being put under a little bit too much pressure. It kicks that high and wide. As things stand, it's Dingle now, and they're opening up a lead, 1-9 to 1-1. When you look at the strength that they have on the bench as well today, Dermot, the likes of Paul Ganey, Matthew, Ruan McCorrick, Carlo Bombre, like they really can unload that bench if needs be in the second half.
Especially in the second half for Dingle, it's going to be much more of a carrying game rather than the kicking game that they've been able to play in the first half. So they'll need those subs coming off the bench to give them extra energy towards the end of the game.
Down Keller now, possession with him. And again, using the wind and floating a lovely pass in there to Dylan. We saw him kick with the right a few seconds ago, with the left this time. But look at Barry Dan. A great battle in between himself and Colm Omar Hertig there. Colm coming, doing the better this time. Now Andrew Finn. Back to Fenton Hurley, but it's Annascaul's forwards who are having to come deep for that ball, playing against the wind. Trying to play it there, and well done by Jack Farrell. Lost the ball, but regained possession. Shane Foley, and he's always offering himself to the Annascaul forwards are back. It's James Scanlon, that time. See another attempt there, but that goes wide, and Annascaul will be disappointed. Only coming away from this first half with 1-1, and it's them frees as well by Jason Hickson in the first few minutes. You really need to nail them in semi-finals, Dermot.
I think definitely since the water break, you've seen an increase in intensity from Dingle. They're tackling, they're getting more stuck in around the field, making a lot more contact out around the half forwards and midfield, and I think they might have had a few choice words at the sideline there during the water break.
Yeah, whatever was said to them, it seems to be working. Although Flanur and Machlish and Hadish and Butcher of Adelish or Durant. Durant Fiachan Suasnish, Sean Ogomorons, Bossage Sean, I guess if Fiachan de Modi, oh, such a million minute again, and Sassiedla, Send the Yanadish, Fed, on the Stigan was Barrow, Sudavon, Dr. Rachel, Galaxia law version, Edendal of Rodincha, Lesh, Lewis, Hiedla, Martian Sir, Kickmach, the gown down the skull, Jim Schumach with Tom Suas and Sug, Sombresha, Yummer to get a bark and Orsig and out. But you're in Flahessa, Bishopson, or you can listen well to untapped Chicago. Being Tachuna, Kaigis on down of so make unwell to give it in the veil, like Caru, Canish, Irvana, Kerry, Elaine, Soccer, the son of Chetter, Don, Commission, Tusno de Saharan. But here come on the Scáil, one last chance to add a few scores on to the scoreboard here. Well behind here, Shane Foley, no fault of his, he's driving forward all the time. George Durant there putting the tackle in. Again, Shane keeps possession of the ball back now, this time to Killian Falvey. Killian Falvey to James Creed. Back to Jason Hickson. Deep into injury time here in the first half. There we go, Shane Foley driving forward, but the foul committed there by Brondon Kelleher. The referee is going to have a word with Brondon. See, it looks like he's going to produce a card. More than likely going to be yellow. Yeah, yellow card shown there to Brondon. He'll have to be quiet for the second half. Free here, and you can imagine Jason Hickson will go for the score because this could be the last play of the first half. It's live stream, of course, provided by Paul Quinn's Bar and Bentry. We can't leave people in. Very appreciative of the service, Paul. We've seen Jason Hickson snatch two of these early in the first half. He'd have gotten then a different looking scoreboard. The Sangle suitor right footed kicker. Jason Hickson settling himself and running up, and that looks good from where I'm standing, and the white flag is raised inside their score. That was needed by Annascaul, and with that the half-time whistle has blown here in Porkanossic. They really needed that score, didn't they, Diarmuid? But Dingle will be very happy with that first half performance.
Great score there from Jason. All right, Annascaul needed that just to finish the half on a high, because they have missed a few chances that they otherwise might get. But Dingle will be reasonably happy, I'd say, without playing brilliantly well. To be 7 points up at half time in a West Kerry Championship game is always a good lead, regardless of the win. But with the conditions favouring Annascaul in the second half, they're by no means out of this game yet.
Yeah, a quick goal or two there for Annascaul, but we'll have a look at the scores there in the first half, and it's Daingean who is causing all the damage inside for Dingle. 1-5 he scored so far. The rest of the scores coming from the two who are playing inside with him in the full forward line. No Paul Ganey, no problem, says Barry O'Sullivan, who's knocked over 2 points. Tomas Sheehy with another 2 scores, and the scores coming there at the end for Annascaul. It's Jason Hickson with 2 scores. He scored, a goal and a point, and he kicked that point there with the last kick of the first half, and the other score coming from Craobh for Thiar. So as it stands here in Porkanossic, Annascaul will have the wind advantage in the second half, but they're behind here. 1-9 for the home team Dingle, 1-2 for Annascaul. We'll be back in a few minutes with the second half.
Times are very short.
Just all of Kuntus, Horlish and Daraland, so she go bark nosing shit for an Valley Buckley and Daingean Hochen Keenan, so their horse score, because son, him a dough again on the Scáil. I just give me on the Tacham Park and son on the Scáil, Tus and Darla, Aidan Crean, Kintome, Dave K, I thought of fog at the park. Other than the Jack Farrell. Kimi de machs aan gaan couple nomen te Kimi de sang James Green tak maken die een line la sag. Stolen bij Jack Farrell alright tak mach. Can tell me that shouldn't die big tus. Tappig het hastal to on the Scáil so get tus dar las kan dal tas gon godine for den down woord tak schach len in lach YouTube if you can shin Sean Noonan holds in Austral so gon kein ear vodor en nangen gaven no corona lorn schacht in the grip shoot the sul le sha le schach hier den dangen go mor kon kin se play hen no naile hen do market mas marketing mo dire gestachen zum gebare o sule war naschen wat go hard get bara ach gun in the here not the Green and the Steve gas in the road German Dingle. They were going with the long ball into Barry down and they've done there in the start of the second half, but I suppose the strength of the wind there, the wind carried that wide for Barry's attempt.
Barry be disappointed he didn't score at the same time. It was a good scoring chance, but you can see the strength of the breeze. They are definitely interesting to see Paul Gainey on the field for Dingle in the second half as well.
Yeah, Paul Gainey, Takesh Stachensons, Kamek and Judy Caide, Honey Paul the Stach, Sedlat, Emiro, Homala Polo Gainey, Tat the Stach, Jansa Gamahaga, so Jason Hexen the Nish, she wants Chastney Joe Hoare, David Smith, and Nisha Gashahun on the Scáil, see the Kamad Shell of the Caide and Sussi Hiadla. Agus Dental because of Dara Lashin or the Earth and Sun, Jason Hexen, Agus Fogacheshin in the school, Henna Chiarraí Forest score, Henna Door Forest score to get Jason, 1-3 for on the Scáil. Great score there by Jason Dermot.
Great start to the second half for on the Scáil, and the score they badly needed, and you could see the strength of the breeze there, the way Jason drove through, really drove onto the ball and kicked a great point from 40 yards. So, perfect start for on the Scáil, and they need to keep Dingle under pressure now when they can.
Io con the Horlish she get Kamach son a hashin boat to on the Scáil score in the Tastal to his son. Got Dolo Lorug, James Crean and Ish pass back to go Killian Falvey, Agus Dirach Marianne, Jason Hexen, Chin Hordier, and on the Scáil easing into that Dingle lead, and that's exactly the start they wanted in the second half, James.
Great start from the Scáil again there to win that kick out and then to set up James for a point from 40 yards and well able to score. A man who's worn the Kerry jersey in the past, a good footballer and showed what a good kicker the body is there.
You know, that was done share foot in the park and son get us on the Scáil yet job to score in the game shoot kick Mach Garrett token son we hollow flanura two stakes have to get shoot share some good moss also the one has ten share chasn and some pack out and the mahaga share some good ahio con the hornish accusations good to mach ho father let moss Leo also the one and then the team let moss Leo so no with me and so here la was nicht auf alle Nilo genig Kaiten son again Nile is in Scáil there na fachta on the Scáil no Violo Correlation Jason Hexen pass Schulte Schachenson get James Crean get pass Love Craobh get James Vida score all get shouldn't want to machen some good in ton of the Adrian Crean and Mach Killian Falvey I shouldn't want to get Killian and that's a shishin stach ni Yannick didn't get any dispossessed there. We saw a lot of Dingle scores came from that in the first half on the Scáil looking to copy that tactic and get their own scores, Dermot.
Dingle sluggish in the ball in the start of the second half and struggling to get the ball up the field, and Annascaul there got a good turnover, had a shot at the score from Killian and just didn't come after him, but Annascaul will be very happy with this start.
Kick Mark at it, talking about so for the Brandon okay her. Drew Horizon to get Jack Farrell Brandon. Chiarraí Torg will number Kush came in the talk on Sunday right team. Brandon lecking in the right told it. This on the right tour, Ben Brasden. Rolia Killian Falvey and Hudson the Hogan Shear. Killian leads it there this time to Jason Hexen, the scorer of 1-2 for on the Scáil. Playing that there to James Crean. It's a little bit too easy. Jason Hexen there driving forward. On the Scáil now, but they're surrounded by Dingle defenders. Making it hard for them, but they couldn't keep a hold of possession. Aidan Crean, a ball the son, that was what he shouldn't ball to get. He shouldn't ball to Erfori, the let off there for Dingle. Final score Marvie 1-9 to 1-4. Looks like he'll be able to continue. Free kick for Dingle. Tom Sullivan, an all-star of course last year. Driving forward a little, leaving left out too easily there by the Annascaul forward. Tomás Chowlish, Fadile Polo Devon, Bishafa Colach Manson, Hiedla, Fadile Matthew O'Flaherty, Matthew Nish, Captain the Four, Dara O'Sullivan, Dara Montlesh, Suasna Park, Brewer, Darason, Sheldon the Caide to get Tomás McTeague, Tachtagower, and Matthew Tachtagower at Hamas, Shiarraí Nish, Fadile Dara O'Sullivan, Pass Levinson. Good George Durant passing touch to Shachage. Hofadele Barrow Sullivan negotiation Scáil to Sun. Good Tomás McTeague. Tomás Sheehy. Great score. His third point of the afternoon. Patient build up by Dingle, but again it's that quick ball into Barry.
Yeah, a great ball in by George again, who's kicking great ball into the full forward line all day. I think the move started by Tom Sullivan taking the ball in the cornerback position and making a great drive up the field, and Dingle had the momentum from that run from Tom then to get a great score.
Yes, well, we loved the game. The River George Ryan paid each other on off in the kick passing the Gamahaga. Yeah, which I pushed the Gamahanishin over get. Shane Foley, Sheldon the Caddy get shoot this Cluiche down there, Shane Tinchashianish Colombo Hurt the Shields on the Tommy Pierce, Berachmacher, Sikiad Landor Ogshe, Aline, Scanin and Echermesh, on the stock gun in the Guy, which I've had Nisa of all Tashin, but to source another Serki Knafshuk, Sun Brunta. On the Scottish cannot Botorian players so bishops and I can dish of Tuchla Canish, Beshin or Shulinish, Kaikis Solum on law mother, Margameg Walt, the Gimmer to Gun in the Gale, Desar and Shahun, can open on the Scott Gimmer Lesson did Shafton Shahun, it's in call it the Caro Canish, Pride Social Chiarraí Lesh, now go up back how Lesh, the Clay Canish here, Highland Clay Canish, probably in a honey Gunnavan Daingean, so Stigle and Queen to Bone, because I mean, this toast Jackson score 9 shake, Macamboa could Lawson. Nerig wieder Cluiche Leathcheannais. Gimmer to go in the Gulf the video more can keen to Cluiche Sun to get a hammer. Honey Gulf Annascaul once again picked a van, reading that and reading the danger, coming back, helping his defenders. Shotgun the Daingean initial Frehunsi Polo Devon. So as Paco Nish Nashka Polo Devon. Yet the Gimmer to Kamale Kele, Tachta Gower Kele George Durant Nish Scáil Sun Stach. Just score all and so again on Daingean a session. Bolt to Stach on Sunday get most McTeague stolen. Except what to Harsh trust now and get score the Daingean. Great play again. George Durant playing really well in the second half for Dingle.
George playing really well. Pip with a great turnover for Dingle there. He read that ball up the field very well, intercepted. George, nice pass in again, and Tomás with a very good finish.
Big Tomás McTeague exhausted and the height Gadisa supply chief in time she again is stolen. Skinny to Shach Nomat, no Hop Nomat, Mahat, and Darila Shach painted in the foreign. It will board that has thought to on the score, and Lucasha the hill couple score a lot. I shouldn't want to she's the son of Gentleman Mahaga George Durant. Later, Richard and son to get David Smith. David Ball in the Kadishir of the Jim Andrew Finn. Ashnishka Colombo Marhertig, because the dog shot Colombo Macadine Line. That had slap better. Chinese of Collie, Alton Hudson, all of Charles was in the park, see Humpers was in the park. Chernish Andrew Finn, Cousin Tori, and Daingean Dealish, instructor at Alakamachas in the cup. But Nishka Eamon Hexen, nach Daro Sullivan, Yachlashu, Eamon Hexen. Shin passed asses on the Shaka Andrew Finn. Gentle Mahason, the Garuan of Corrigan, the DL, how Takashafta Nangan. After a Dentico. Simple to share agus late come get Tomás Sullivan or Shin and Ishko father let George Durant passed toast to get a Barrow O'Sullivan. Gloves the one and son Hervara, Cruz boss for him pass live and son Gopolo Devon, Galord and Hadfek and Saga Polsa Darila. Daingean the Nish Tomás Sullivan, agus Nish Deshika son. Turtna Cardiff and Keenis can name down here or Derek Van Town of Elton so. I know the Mahesata Arela, Daingean from Keen Polo again, Ignil Moron, don't guide it, picking up hold, pass Schultz on the Stachaga, Huddy ton of the Ella, Ruan McCorry, and that is an absolutely brilliant goal, and that shows you it really does. It's worth having a strong bench when you see that goal.
I think a lot of the subs linked up there, all right, and a great finish from Ruan, but Dingle changed the point of attack from over the far side to near side here, and Paul Guinea drew the man, slipped a great ball to Ruan, who finished brilliantly.
Yeah, great goal there by Dingle. It'll be hard for Annascaul to come back to this. Dingle showing maybe why they are a senior team and Annascaul are a junior team. That's kicked in now to call for Thiar. Céimiad is san inis sé kick runtar an Scáil ní sinna me Harris tá blina mar blina rágur leis dagan bheith kick san ní bheith hin danéchar ar an agan sa tó héine gan isrim sé san gan dát an boidir chiad le san nó din géine ag ná ferteach á feáach sa dí sé san sa chiad le ach bod I'm sé siú bod ellen san díra fat an san garán choir has best Schulterstach a polo géirí. No mar eigles nimmer san agus Paco droir at cat san nach sé direct dá kon cho an bodor a aimimsú an tá derig leis a dain in the summer ní lénestig sa fáde ach ní hall flanúra me siar. Mar lín an sa. Nis Jack Farlick se an tostim go ma ge go James Green lenne hittóg scorá cúpla pint. Scorá pinte cúpla nóin ha denta áligan san a ge lenne hittóg Harris Trasná scored and score, but they need a lot more than points at this stage. They're much come back into this on the score.
They do, but a great score from James. Poor play from the Dingle backs there. Turned over the ball. Aidan Green intercepted it very easily, and it worked his way through to James. And James has shown us this evening that he's well able to take his point, and that was a great score.
Daingean an tunna díile hánig chun park a match ó fart gan dát nerv sé an elmen chun tasnú ran chu daine so timppel fast gan ná ig nar hánig go fur an amach ich go dianta go mai an daine san cumar síalga a tunna bheith le bochlí na Weltachta me sin el Classico cartan sa Kerry here as an boltesteach léit go man san ige Andrew Finn ar 9 sé sa chun Jason Hexon sé cúpla roiir chiad le an dáta sa hánig go bád an builte chesta níos go fada le James Scanlon bula na Caide níos go fada le Cillian Falvey dulchan cí na lo génig go dhéchant le siú a seacha chun talún an son a déiréid teir agus séirchéic brunta an son Cillian Falvey regulate orchan kaint an son let did an organic. Cillian Falvey is a good player. He loves to take on the defender any chance he gets, isn't he, Dermot?
Yeah, Cillian is well able to do that. You know, again, a man who's played for Kerry at a number of different levels, and he's playing fairly well today as well. You know, and Annascaul need more of that driving play. Won a good free there, and it should be a score for Annascaul now.
Corta boy noch the son. Nilo Gainic. After Scáil and so down the Scáil score now. Thought to her. Hittóig an son tunnadí hánig isteach an son sin bute macamahan son to get Aidan Green lenne hittóig Harris Trasná fogin sin nis bun hen share chláir score I get wachli on the Scáil do héine again an sin naigwing to get on the Scáil do héine sin chapwing to dia galore after a force and take minor miracle from the Scáil to come back here, but who knows, a goal and they're back in it.
In fairness, Annascaul, they've come back well from that Dingle goal. They've got 2 good points, and all they can keep doing is tipping away at the scoreboard and hope that when the time comes when they do get the goal chance that they take it, and that could bring them right back into the game.
Scáil look back at this game, they'll rule the 2 goals that they've conceded, especially the one in the first half to Daingean. Achshachuna Daingean and Ishashin Baltimaka Tomas Leo Sullivan Lanon Chiarraí Reta Podrigo Kunahor is Stacker Custom Diana Hossa Yana Gunisa Jantigmaga Podrigo Kunahor Hashu Straka Hunatalons and again Jason Hickson right from kind to Jason the right about the sun Sarah kick front there and Nangan again down there or Sonic Spade George Durant Kunesha Hogan Polo Gaelic Taka Chasnig and out near Hosnick Paul Tronon enough on Shashakan Son Scandal is a fast shoulder hook of Father Ruan McCorry. I guess some assassin honey and turn about the Daingean. Chúis Durant Tinish. She ball in the Caide Didach Marion Jason Hickson's head lab poor attempt there by George Durant, but he's been a good find for Dingle bringing him back in. He was with Ballincollig I think for a few years.
Yeah, he was. He's back with Dingle again, and he's playing. He's played reasonably well in the club championship games. Had a bit of an injury and missed out a little bit, but came on as a sub against Simple Knowles, one of the better players, but is having a fine match today. Really playing well.
Yeah, Kimmer Mark Layton son. You get Jason Hickson. Next ball in the Caide and Keenan Sunga Cahill for Ted Podrigo Kunahor Straka or shoot the Derritoric session, but to stack a tapping past Scholt to Gadasson son, Stach O'Hillian Falvey, good James Green, near of shops and Hudson the Gold, me or Carterson down the Scáil, and then locked there Caide on the Caide Hoigestach and son. Oh, if it near Cillian O'Falves came in on the deal attacking park and so on the Scáil, and Coakley ready to come in. We have the second water break here. of the second half, but Dingle will be happy with that. But it's all the goals have really punished Annascaul. When you think of the first one in the first half, that was very avoidable. Okay, the second goal was good. That was great interplay between the substitutes, Paul into Dingle or into Ruan McCorrick. But I suppose the calibre of player that Dingle are introducing as well is really, really high.
It is, but I think you can see the difference there. You know, when Dingle were getting the ball in early to their full forward line in the first half, they were getting scores fairly easily inside there, whereas Annascaul just have to work that little bit harder to get the scores that they're getting. So I think Annascaul really they need a goal quickly to get back into this game, but if they do, they're right back in it again.
Yeah, 16 minutes so istig bark nasig gandot diners foden down board if you der shacht voor my even score na gudisa en the quick fachte get til no genig here fointe on nummer Bajo on nummer Thomas Macatigan son lecher fointe Baden son Oruan Macar grafointe Obara o Sullivan agsta Annascaul en do atá fachten son get Jason Hickson hagimerlar park grafointe son Sadarla o James Green pointe on nummer Chiarraí o Cal for Thiar agus dirich red condition Daingean for Aiden Green Farhanig Stachenson Gela Hammer Point Von Ellet the Annascaul Fog Jashing with the Daingean Gomorchan Keen Do Haniak the Hannah Shake and out what Tori and Class of Ishton Oyahant for Caide in the belt Gown Kai Keys and does look like a girl Dingle final dear madam. It'll be strange without the crowd. Hopefully we'll be allowed to allow some people in by the time that game comes alive, but it really should be a cracker of a game if that happens.
If it happens, yeah, it does. It does look like it is that way at the moment. But Annascaul, as I said, if they get the couple of scores early on, after the water break, we'll be back in it. But as you say, it's a great day. Usually at Dingle get the Quest Kerry final, so hopefully we can get supporters in to see the match, because I think it would be very disappointing if we couldn't.
Yeah, you end out for Sanchez and slow and letting go more to Sug and out munching the hot skitcher fat Hunt Rev so Hurtlow na heavily and but now we now not cougar for a glack apart. A Fos Henig, Kirkesha hit the look Takiert and Daingean on the Scáil this ball is a stone Ken Craobh go value of Wintermach get who's the Brianna is there along a collat could be Craobh Hinche had it here scandal to draw sauce the letting go more to the Sug Brianna I guess no horror at Hagen and Mulvargi or on Strand House on the shot in the trough. Finally, Strand, Dingle Cleaners, agus Chiarraí, Concrete, Howl and Noara, Martian Blue Queen of a Sunday Shippador, and Tactin Shapoon, Mar Sarin, Vincent on the Queen of Agus Canon Tactiat, Wahason, Ivach and Comortus, or Rachdal, Lanoma, English, Nimmer to Tim Chamach, will Hock no Diagamehan, so Hug no Diagno Martian Falk get on the Scáil, and will Irie near Lazarus Untach, shed and Daingean Hodollar and Unsinish, Tomas Leo, Sullivan, Bull and the Caide for Father Polo Gaining, Jantic Mahan, Son Rishi get George Durant, I no taller fadden so the Daingean so Chiarraí agus Sadarla you should want to share and some Gadaro Sullivan Shellip na Caide and Daingean the other Gimmer Command so Ruan McCorrick for Sha Bod in East Low and some Sadarla and Wascario and Ashin Bod Tishtach and again I suppose the strength of the wind was visible there. Dermot really caught that ball.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it might have been the best decision from Ruan to go for a score from the position he was in, but look, he's on form. He's after scoring a great goal. You wouldn't blame him for having a go. Just didn't come out for him.
Yeah, they give it Daingean so Quintin Bader like Anish Cadme or Wall and Sunday get George Durant to send a Foster or Sunday Lauren Park Lauren the Wood on the DL out like a shaft on Daingean son Billy on the whole shaft hand the board Billy Tackle and son pass live in this board to get Ruan McCorrick and Nash and some get Billy Lanon to Rigas Fach Billy put the whole in fact and Sunday get O'Shane Foley at the Hirschashin the Billy, I guess, and we see another substitute, Billy. He is a man mountain inside there, and he can maneuver as well. I played rugby with him a few years ago, and serious strength by Billy, raw strength.
It is, and it's great for Dingle to be able to have to call on a fella like Billy to bring on as a sub in a game like this when halfway through the second half, because you can see there he is a strong man there under a high ball and driving down through the middle. Maybe a little lucky to get a free there, but he'll add a lot to Dingle today.
Yeah, that's been in the farm more and say kick for Shambouts and like that show the Irish trust on so they get the most McAtee point to every cat tron on the most though you have machine of floor score you get Buckley and Daingean hand the Shega on the Scáil like shell of the Caide again Daingean go more warrior son of Dolphin Keen to most McAtee get Chaston and son go to most McAtee stolen but Shashin Chaston son I guess he should have pro esque so but again Daingean he won't score many easier ones than that to most
No, Paul Gainey won the kick out well for Dingle and he won it fairly close into the goal, so down the Scáil backs were vulnerable and they worked it well. Look, it was a good score and Tomas was in the right place at the right time, he put it in. Good goal.
What Machinish Matthew fan of Bunson, Lord Lucky Matthew, or Leo, Tacta Gowder, passes on Father, let Billy initiate Monchon Keen. This is Gurva Solo, Kilton, get Billy and pass and toast to Shachanson, Gurwan, Macquarie, Body Gadisa, Fatga, Rowan, Earth Cutter for real. After Counson shows the Harsh trust now, and the Dingle substitutes. After they're coming in, I suppose, trying to get a place in the team for the final, but Rowan's played really well, hungry for the ball.
Rowan has done well for Dingle this year, in the club championship matches that he's played in, especially the first game against Aston Sachs, and he's really making an impression here now coming into the second half. And I think the Dingle bench, you look at the strength of them there, and being able to call on the likes of Billy and Rowan and Paul Ganey and Matthew, these lads, really is making a big difference here in the second half.
But I suppose as well, when you look at Dingle, they would have been disappointed with that Temple No game. I suppose with no back door in the county championship, I'm really enjoying the fact that there isn't. But they've been hurting from that, and I suppose that's visible from their performance today. Like, they didn't want to be leaving their team and their club down, I suppose, today. And the West Kerry Championship is not to be sniffed at the end of the season.
Absolutely not. And you would have expected to see today a good response from Dingle. You know, a bit of bite and a bit of crankiness from the players, having played so poorly in what was the biggest match of the year against Temple No. And so far so good, I'd say, from a Dingle point of view. They're playing reasonably well here today, and they should see it out and get into the final.
Yeah, but for we'll get our lots and all right. Then you want to match in the dog, got one on with Chi Diego for scoring and then I say Roger come back up the Annascaul captain of come back on the Scáil Mahano and Craobh Neil accession but to Stachenson I get column over hurt the accession but for real expected the column here is on Selena Long holds here like the Gaulish can out to talking could Dunkerton son on the Scáil mar gumreála column of Velo Shaw the Caide was the park and kick my tapping and son talk get the eye on the whole of the idea of Dominic but to Nishko father Nilo Gainig in this turn Caide King me hollow flanura and this past session Stackadin spots let Nilo Gainig Lanon Telesh I guess Nish Tomas O'Sullivan the Tomas Queen of Verboid and saw Carr Temple as Gentle Mahanson the Hossanori on the Scáil or Tomas Machas spots about the on the Scáil attack the Guide, Gentle Mahanson again, Andrew Finn, Wiltonson, get Eamon Texan, and Shane Foley, Shelley McCaddy, get Shane, I think you can Munich again, Lillian O'Flahet, or the Rockdent get Shane, Stachenson, James Crean, Pass and Toast, and Hofadele Aiden Crean, Quinta O'Hare, Kick Facht again, Honig Shachtella Hammer, go call for Thiar, Honartigus lost again, Barca, I thought Carrer Cougar, the Hossantori, Undangan Temple, Erigation, Saw Robertson, O'Leila Lawn Hole and Dangan, I guess in his shell of Nakadi, again Matthew O'Flaherty, Sheer Hofadele Dahio Conahor, and Ish, and Nashanson, Matthew O'Flaherty, Saw Robertson, Hossantori and Dangan. They really didn't give call for Thiar any space there, and Carton will be delighted with the effort from his defenders there.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for really from Dingle from today for the rest of the matches. That fellas are putting in a big effort, and they did there, having turned over the ball in front of the Annascaul goal below. Annascaul worked it up well, but Dingle got back in numbers and turned over the ball again, and they're coming up the field strong again now.
Farsa Martin taller Fado Shosha Durant shouldn't pass all in the Shackleson Hofada let Moss Leo Sullivan and Ashton go Polo Gainig a Chowlish Nacht Sauce Chief Largely Polo Gainig is pass and post and Shackleson again Achlete get me your Lord Forke on the Scáil and 9 Chiarraí Sheshu Damon Hexen Chiarraí Hofada left him Coakley Chiarraí Goody Captain the Forney Tommy Pierce Community the Megan Swale Buckley and Daingean and so more from Keen Chi there the flower score and the Shay get on the Scáil corner he get on the Scáil stand out get for the veg fuel of had mar 2 splodrich get on the Scáil green get la and so le ball on to Jason Hexen a couple of hair kick Hershamo Sihiad la a couple of year of the further mood and schmack will 9 no get the year of the current move get on the Scáil a Hashem Butchstach and George Durant in fairness to George he's absolutely everywhere here we won't be picking a man of the match, but if we were, he'd be up there.
Yes, and I think for George, the fact that he's playing middle of the field today, he gets a bit more freedom. I think he reads the game very well. He likes to come onto a bit of ball, which maybe isn't always possible in that forward line. And he's an athletic player as well. He's good legs, which might be something different than what Dingle usually would have in the middle of the field. But he's absolutely doing himself no harm at all there, as regards getting picked for a final anyway, you would say.
Yeah, George playing absolutely brilliantly for Dingle. Shachun on the Scáil and it's Jason Hexen. On the row was a Horamach. Took down the Scáil and he hooked their swas through have Shachun in his call for Thiar. Sheer Hofadele James Crean. Half into Gaditsa, I'm Shaggy James. Shelley McCadden and Suttonish. Jack Moriarty, Chaston the Parker. Hofadele David Smith could James Crean. He scored 2 points in the second half and he scored another great point. Great player, James. It hasn't really worked out for him today, I suppose. It was Again, the goal in the first half for Dingle, maybe a bit of too much of a mountain from the Scáil to climb. They've been doing okay in the second half.
Yeah, they're pinging away there, and they're still working away at their scoring chances. And James has kicked 3 great points in the second half, and I think for Annascaul, and you're looking at fellas like James for next weekend's game, it would be great for them if they could finish in a bit of a high here and bring a bit of confidence into next week, because it hasn't been all bad today for Annascaul. But James is always a good kicker of the ball, always knows where the posts are, and there's a great man to kick a score.
And a great score there by James, and here come Dingle out with the ball. Tomas Leo. Na Caide was hofadil a Portugal con Horix, Lord and Gadge Fekega Portugal and Sossadarela, Stick Bark and Osik, Chowlesh Goni Portugal. Sunday is Desh for all and Sunday she get Barrow Sullivan a hard hall watch and Sunday stick get Tommy Pierce and Open and Sun O'Nagan. Speed a girl shot the captain of Barration, Hurshach, Sydney and Thon, so Sunday get body around Scáil captain of form Tommy Pierce. I can finish Killian O'Fall, but Tafamach Gad. Scáil Command Shell because the pass factor national Sunday get Killian. So we'll get Buckley on the Scáil, will Ross Richard and Sutton stick the bark on Austin. Irene Lazarus of a hound, the match at Hobbit at 19 years in the yellow of a Dolan goal left and Daingean Bishop St. Joss Austin. Irene Morrow, there's Sausage, Fred Punta in the Urford and Temple Moon, Count the Sarah. 14 Bishop Joss, Sausage and Spawn to some. You think that Paul Ganey, Matt Jew didn't start, Mikey Boyle wasn't there, Ron McCorry. They have options everywhere, and coming in from a semi-final, that's a great place to be looking forward to a final.
It is, and I think what they've done as well is they've got game time into a lot of players who might have seen a lot of action this year because of the short nature of the year. They'll be happy with that. But just to say, they're a great save by Tommy Pierce and Barry Dan there. Barry was straight in 1-on-1, and Tommy came off his line very well and managed to make a great save. So it's encouraging for Tommy to be able to do that at this stage of the game.
Yeah, it is indeed. When we see there Emmett Kennedy, who's going in for on the Scáil, great servant for them throughout the years. He's coming in there for Jack Farrell. Shane Foley also making way. It's Ellen Falvey who's come in as well, and that's kicked there. And is that over the bar? There's another point there from on the Scáil. A little too late, maybe. Jason Exon with that score. Be proud of his effort today. Jason just wasn't enough. Great goal in the first half, but not enough. It looks like we now Dingle who will qualify for this year's West Kerry final. Hashin what just agus definition of audience so get on the Scáil draw hickamach toka agus Hashin Danton son got Alain son son again Aidan Crean na fuchin kada ta der rator versus him be go Shannon Kush came the Negre rator just like Dingle's goal in the first half that came from a Dingle mistake and non Scáil mistake of course in the first half.
Dreadful play from the defence there from Dingle to give a ball away like that just so simply, and having conceded as well a point. It's poor play really, and fair play to Aidan Crean. He took it very well. He was very cool in front of the goal and sidestepped the goal there, and easy finish for him in the end, but not a good goal for Dingle to give away at all.
No, not in the copybook after a great performance. Here we have, I think it's Ron McCorrick and Chowlesh and the hand. Actually, I guess you would reduce it. Sarah Kickbrunt and son again, Raytor. One, a busy little player, isn't he, Jeremy? He likes to get involved. He likes to dictate the play.
Yeah, he's a good man out around the half-forward line because he's always available there when you're coming up the field. A good man on the breaking ball from a kick-out as well. And the one thing that I suppose for Rowan's game that he'd be looking to bring to it is a couple of scores. And he got the goal today, and he's got a point as well, and he's getting into scoring positions. So if he brings that to his game as well, he's definitely worth a starting position here for Dingle.
You see the yellow card there. Session look there, Jason Hickson. Odida Hobble Soding and Nang and the Clayton Manson again, David Smith there, Shin, except what to share and son again. Chakunesh and Undor. Front Caide on the Scáil, Zunga Marco Chaco, China Lumena. Chowlesh only is on them a Kennedy call for Terranish. Shoulder pass on the staff. Hofadele. Aidan Crean for and Bod and Son. Kennedy, Nisha Derek, Jason Hickson, the Rhyme Shoes, Bashana Hibland, and Son, Gent Manson. You get to Moss or Sullivan, and I share want to get to Moss, and Daingean the Tach Matlish and Caide Stimshmach. Good Law Nam Bolton and so Barkanasi. Daingean the more from Keen Chi Dagger Flower score of Son. She watched Stachanish Barry or Sullivan. Barry Chowlesh. Cluiche Leathcheannais, Barry Neil Derry Torres, and Bolton Share and Son. Shall na Caide sign she get Craobh bomber. She go Rowan McCora go Billy Annascaul Rowan agus an Daingean na dear go Tom Velton sign Polo Gaine go tacht from King go and Caide son agus ha facht Annascaul George Durant Lenny to gashin but to get Paul shin me for in profession am shaf na ma Daingean more from King but Barry O'Sullivan playing in full forward Dearman. Do you think that's worked for Dingle?
I think they were trying to do something different with Barry today and get George out to the middle of the field, and Barry's done well in patches. Really, he's always shown for the ball, and he's got a couple of scores as well. Maybe long term, I think Barry's position he might be better off out around the middle. I'd say long term, but it's definitely something that they've tried and was worth trying, and to a certain degree, it's come off all right.
Yeah, Dingle, Chaulo, and Ishigoni, Hudson, Watermachson, the Craobh bomber. Her Templar Hall share some good moss market tea, getting what to start get the moss and King she was in the good hit. Better regarding is Tommy Pierce, Jantic Mahaganis, James Green, at Matlish the Annascaul chief into Star left to get James of Neil Orson, the Buckley Annascaul, and out Bishops indeed the Hinish, a brave social. Chiarraí, Bishop Sunderson gimmer le Buckley, Twishka, Daingean to was Bishop the Soul Ashin of walking. When he leaned out on but nothing chalet, and some Tron going for an over with half from Keen and something get on the skull. It's going to enter something down hoops of Leon. No Tom, when you dish map, play canish the press social and Leon nation of walking. They should bring the social and Leon Shapoon is the edition. Though some committee shop dashing of walking small one to Ashin Gary, never reach Miana, Miana, was for broken event too. Carl for Thiar, Nish Craobh and Caide. Shiarnishka James Green, since she might go on down Bisham, her son, like she passed toast to Stachan, son, get James Green. I can't think of get under the yellow hot attack, Stachan Park, all nine and match you off Lahart session, but to Machishiga, got the Moss Mackie Tea, because Walla Hammond, so get the Moss, a bolt to Swassa Gunova Tablina, Chaulish, Jason Hickson, Nishik, Brewer, a Hashin Bolt to Stachan is past Gloach and son, a Sir Hickavik, Brunton, son, Ed Tomas, so would have won. Lovely ball in there by Tomas, she hit his hand.
Nice pass from Tomas right inside there. He spotted the run of Tom, and we didn't even see it ourselves from up high, so it was a great ball in, and Tom was fouled, a bit of tired play there from the Scáil, so should be a score again for Dingle.
Right, Jordan, that's all from Caide. The film Craobh is caught the boy not there shoot. Originally, Kerry is tack mamach let and scored there nothing so. And then is called it the play Canish Craobh in Chiarraí. Kerry here got out Bishop son all you can flash about then Dearman, I suppose you fond memories of the old girls Dingle games like it gets the blood flowing anyway.
It does, yeah, and even for the younger players, I remember when we were young and we had a lot of good young players in the Gaeltacht as well, the likes of the Daras and those lads, it was a great grounding, if when you're a young fella, that if you could survive those games, you could survive anything really, and great rivalry there and good matches and a bit of buzz around the place. I think that's what we need really after this tough year. We could do with something like that, and hopefully we'll be able to get a few people into the matches as well.
Yeah, I couldn't there listen strength no second time one is only the at the end of kin shoot Lauren the shaft na the reamer cutting on the shot before he land out me off our hit the Stachan Saga Park and us ignoring him does no park in the Caide Kerry here because of all the and out fish are falling on YouTube and something like Hanish you check into force kind out I can come in skill the measure shoot kikes on now passion or come out to get kicked on all going on the ground trash and fear and son the fall as and sure so we pay our trash if you have their show if we them downward we not have kidden to and so going nach desigh not play here to Daingean like no taller fat and so you have more than keen so in machen is Chino with down fresh immer and so chi a floor score get Daingean though a hot and son to get on the Scáil here hit front and son are buried down so the one is big sir kick Stachan so Daingean king it is a court the boy in Tanna court the boy shack session front and son again knock the head Sean Craobh is only after coming in second yellow card. It won't make a difference at this stage. You only got a yellow a few minutes.
It's just a bit harsh though, isn't it, really, to get a yellow card for that? Give it a foul, okay, fair enough, but to get another yellow card for that is very harsh, really. But a bit unlucky for him there, but it's not really going to have a huge impact on the result from now.
No. Session brought to Stachan something Rowan McCorry think to without and run on the fact to get shoot and out for Shabod and shoot off sauce selection spontas a hook show I came and son I guess so that and more and more complete chain carry action score all the other fat and out before the green cut and so see here la I've seen another in the order fact no gaining give it no tall of that in Ishkan the Kugan Shigashu the session Rotigum Nadog Jernach Shate and Sutterbark and also Bua Nafshak Kamagan in the Buchani Annascaul Dimoch and the Chatanai Gref Kosher Kerry in Ish and Dinishak and Shahun. And it looks like Diarmid will be back to the old reliable El Clasico, the West Kerry El Clasico, Dingle versus Belfast. But Dingle will be happy with that. When you look at the players that didn't start, Paul Gainey, Matthew, Ruan, who came on to score 4-1-2, they'll be happy with the overall performance.
They will, and I think where they'll be happy is the fact that they got a lot of game time into players who haven't seen much action this year so far. So they played reasonably well. Dingle, I think, took their chances well in the first half, got the couple of goals in the second half that really put the game to bed. A lot of positive